Adoption Arena podcast is a positive, engaging look at adoption and fostering, presented by Joy Carter, an adoptee and advocate.
Hello, you're listening to the first season of the Adoption Arena podcast, hosted by me, Joy Carter. On today's show, we're continuing the discussion from last week on Chosen, a new anthology of writing by adopted people. A project designed and produced by Charlotte Ansell and Janett Plummer. Now, I'm excited to have one of the young people with me today, Estelle. So, I think I just want to go straight in with your poem because I really strongly believe that it's the power of the adoptee voice, the power of of young people that really needs to resonate, I believe, in people's hearts. So I think we should just dive straight in, if you're ready, to share your poem that you wrote. And then we can just sort of use that as a sort of base to find out a little bit more about the writing process and everything. So yeah, Estelle, take it away.
I am from Wales. I am a rugby player. I'm a best friend. I'm a feminist. And I'm an eco-world supporter, especially for the ocean. I'm odd but colourful, brave but shy. I can be free but still feel locked up. But who I am for a reason. I doubt myself when I should be more confident. I'm the person I am and I cannot change that. I was not myself, I hid away. I never showed my true colours. I copied others to be liked. I was scared. I hope that I can find a life I enjoy. Find friends I love. Find my birth mum. I hope to be happy.
What would you like to see happen if there was one thing you could do in the adoption and fostering care system to make things better for families? What would you like to see change?
Well, I really think that if there was more access to therapy and to therapeutic help, and I think that's something Janett and I have both talked about, we wish for that. And, there's just not the resources, there's not enough support. I think a lot of the parents that I work with say that one of the hardest things is not sort of having enough preparation beforehand, or not really knowing what they're taking on. There's sort of a really it's quite a difficult process, isn't it, to be assessed as adopted parents. You have to go through a really kind of lengthy and intensive process. But in terms of being prepared to take on a child who has come with trauma or from difficult circumstances, and that being a kind of lifetime journey that you're going to take together, I just feel like there needs to be more to help parents prepare for the realities. And like Estelle says, it can be such a positive thing, and there can be so many good things about being adopted, but we have to recognise that there's the difficulties as well, and not sort of gloss over the difficulties, I think. Yeah, because
I think we're all very much aware of sometimes the organisations who go for the chocolate box, this sort of illusion of this sort of, you're taking on a child and you're saving the world. How can we maybe get away from that, Janett? How can we maybe, engage better with parents who are potential adopters?
I think lots of people have an idea of what's going to happen, particularly when people are adopting babies. I've got this baby and this is our new life, and they're now, say it's Roberts, they're now a Roberts, and almost trying to forget that there was anything that existed before. But I think sometimes for some families that can work, but I think then there's a lot of hurt when children and young people and adults then go seeking, or just curiosity to find out the what, why, where, for, and what happened, because glossing over doesn't make anything disappear. It's still there. So I think one of the questions you asked, Charlotte, was what would you change or what would be different? And I think what would be different was something to do with transparency and openness in terms of contact. And that's contact with the people that might have been a part of their life that could say, talk, explain. There's only so much a report will tell you. And I'm in the privileged position of having brought up an amazing human being who then got adopted, and we are still in contact. So I think for that young person and their parents, they're in the situation where they've had continuity throughout their life, and they can come and ask me, well, what happened when he was 6 months or 8 days old? And I know his history, and I know about about him. And I think for him, it's a really positive process. For me, it's really been amazing and positive because not many people get to have that contact. And I think what they've realised is it's really quite crucial, whereas that wasn't necessarily the advice of what everybody would have wanted. And they were advised to have a really long period where that young child didn't see me or my family, whereas that young child, even though they settled really, really well, it's still a confusing period of what's happened to their life before, particularly when children are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they know where they lived before, what was familiar in an area, and they want a little bit of either reassurance that they haven't done anything wrong, and that's why they've moved or changed, no matter how amazing their forever family is. And also processing things if that experience before wasn't that good, particularly with people who have been entrusted with their care, the change and the difference. So it's all about helping to process. And I think therapy is part of that. I think it should be an integral part of the arrangement, and it should be a given rather than apply for therapy if you feel there's a problem or an issue. Therapy should be part of the transition and moving on, and just everybody understanding and just that cognizance of what's happening in your life and your family. All families are confusing and sometimes messy, sometimes difficult, much less when you have adoption into the mix.
I mean, just going back to you, Estelle, does that resound, to you and your experience? I mean, do you think that your social workers did enough to help you, even as a child? Do you think they were there enough?
Personally, no. I think I've only ever really seen my social worker properly that I can remember once. And I've had no other contacts, nothing. It's mostly been my parents in contact, which I don't think is fair in a way on the child, because I want to have contact with my social workers. I want to have contacts with like people who could help me out, and just like those doors of like being shut in a way, and it's just like there's no way of me being able personally to get in contact with them because you can't really get in contact. But I mean, yeah, that's like the social services choice to do that, and if they think it would be best, then like I respect that.
See, that's really shocking, isn't it? Because that is a right. You have a voice, and that's one thing I think has been so left out for me about the whole adoption process is we've forgotten that the child is a person who will become an adult, and to shut out their voice as though they don't matter. It's not like getting a chair, is it, or a table? It just doesn't work like that, because you have a memory.
Yeah, and I understand, even though we're a child, they expect us to say, but I don't want like a new family. I want to go back to like my old family or something. But genuinely, I think we when we get to the ages of like 5 or 6, we do have an understanding of it. We do know what is going on. We know that we have been not necessarily taken away from your family. You've just been given to a new family to look after you for a while, in a way. That's like how I feel like it was explained to me when I was little. So it was like really confusing at the time. I remember being really confused about it all. And then I just kind of got used to it, and it kind of just went in with my everyday kind of flow. And it was fine until, like high school, when people would all notice that type of stuff, how you wouldn't know anything about your parents. And people would pick on you about it. They would say you don't have any real parents, or you're just like odd because this has happened to you. But it's never the child's fault. Even if the child feels like it's their fault, I don't think that anyone should ever blame the child, because the child might personally be thinking that. And if you tell them that it will just like confirm it, and they will just feel wretched about it and will like feel bad. And it's just not a good thing for them.
Well, I mean, I'm so glad that I've got to be able to speak to you, because I feel like all the things you're saying, that's how I wanted to say. And I just, all I could tell really was my cat. Because I didn't speak. I chose not to speak because I can remember being age 3 and saying, because obviously my parents are white, so I always knew. And I remember saying to them, age 3, I am not a member of this family. And they were like, we love you and it's all going to be all right. I mean, no, it's not. I've lost my twin and my family. You could send me back to Nigeria at any moment.
It's like when you're younger, you have that feeling that anything because of that could happen at any moment. You could be like sent away immediately, like, and you just have that constant feeling that you don't belong in this family. And even though I look a lot like my parents now, I am probably the most similar looking to them because my 2 other siblings that I live with are blonde and I'm brown and my 2 parents are brown. So obviously I look like in a more natural environment there, but they just stick out from it and they're like really, really pale while I'm like a lot darker than them. And it's like people often like question if I'm adopted because them two look the same, so it would be more likely for them to be connected like that. And it's because I look different, and that's like, you don't judge people by the way they look, like, no. But when I was younger, I really wasn't open about speaking about it, and I would like keep it to myself, but it was like open in the house. But as soon as I left the house, I do not talk about it. But now I'm happy to talk about it with people. If they want to ask me questions about it, I'm happy to answer, because, you know, they're just curious, like they don't know anything about it. So they're not trying to inflict pain onto you if they ask a slightly like offensive question. They're just curious. So it's just a lot easier to talk about now that like I'm older and I've like matured a bit. It's like you have the mindset to think about it like maturely and think they're not doing this to hurt me, they're doing this to connect with me. They want to be able to talk to me about it, and if I have any problems, that I can always go to them. So most of my friends are really sweet about it now, though. They're all like, and especially what happened with my brother when he didn't talk to me for a year and a half. I didn't actually tell anyone till a few months ago, so I kept that bottled up for over a year and a half. And I did not tell a single person. And my friends are so supportive and sweet about it. They'll like, whenever I'm feeling slightly down, they'll like FaceTime me, try and make me laugh. And it's like really sweet. And they all, although they don't understand it, they're like sympathetic about it. And although they can't really feel the way I feel about it, they don't want to say, oh, it'll get better, because obviously sometimes things don't get better in situations like that. Sometimes you won't always see your parents in the end. And obviously my mom, my birth mom, has actually been missing for about 6 years now. So I genuinely don't know if she could be dead or if she's alive somewhere. So, and I know that my dad a few years ago had a girlfriend, and he actually had a dog called Stella, which was a really weird coincidence because he doesn't even know my name now. So it was like a really sweet coincidence. And I've always thought about that as like a little thing that could connect us in a way, even though, you know, not really, but.
No, it's those connections. You know, you have to hang on to any piece or shred of connection that you have.
Yeah.
That's part of your healing story. And that's what it's so important.
Yeah, and even like I think a few months ago, I found like little letters that I had written to my parents, and they never got sent, and they were the sweetest little letters ever. Like, I swear, it was like,
why didn't they send them? Why didn't they send them?
I don't know. I just like, I left them and I gave them to my parents and I like showed them it, but I don't know if social services wanted to have that because I was so little. I think I was like 8 or 9, and it was like, and it had deep things in it. It was like really quite like emotional now that I read it now, like, and I've happily shared it with people now. Like, I've shared it with my friends, I've shared it with like family members now, and I just think reading that, I'm just like, why couldn't have that been like sent? Like, that was my way of trying to communicate with them. And even now I still write like little letters like every day saying like how my day's gone and stuff to like my mom and my dad. Like, I write a tiny letter, and
you see,
that's pretty sweet.
That's what I think people, that's why I'm so glad that you're speaking to us this evening, because what people don't understand is those heart connections, they never die, you know. It's like when COVID has been horrendous, but one of the things that I think people have realised, if you unfortunately lose a loved one, you don't just suddenly go, oh, they're gone now, let's move on. You know, it's you know, they're part of you.
And especially when you know they're still alive, but you know they've just been taken away from you. Although it could be for many, many reasons, you still feel like it was for no reason. You still feel like, but they're my parents, I should be able to see them. But, you know, it's just hard to know that they're still there and that they could have had anything happen to them. And you're not there to like live it with them. You're kind of being like pushed aside. And kids have absolutely no like voice in the whole process. You get adopted, you get taken by a family. And although that family could be absolutely like amazing, they could love you so much, you'll still always have that feeling and like inside you that you don't belong there. No matter how long you're in the family for. I've been in this family for like 13 years and I still sometimes even think, but it would have been different if I was like with my parents. I could have been like a completely different person now. And genuinely, like, people just think that, you know, once it's happened, it's in the past. It's not going to affect you because it's never you can never change it. Like, you could change other things. Like, you can reconnect with a friend that you haven't talked to in like years, but they don't understand that that's it. Like, it still plays you. Like, it's still always going to be there. And it's like, even if they think that person or that thing has been taken away from you, it is like, it's always going to be there with you. So people just don't always understand that some things are just always there. Even if they are physically gone, they're always going to be like mentally there with you.
This section in all our podcasts is to say a special thank you to our sponsors and highlight events that are going on in the adoption and fostering community that you are doing. Why not contact us for more information about advertising your event or sponsoring Adoption Arena? Just send an email to hello@adoptionarena.com. Many thanks. Let's get back to the episode. Well, that's why I think these programs, these podcasts and all the things are so important to getting our stories out, because I think society is beginning to waken up now to the realities. You know, since COVID, I think I was just reading one of the statistics that during the year ending the 31st of March 2020, 89% of children were adopted by couples and 11% by single adopters. Mm-hmm. And 25% of adoptions actually broke down as well. But since then, obviously since COVID's hit, there's been like, in some areas, 60% interest in adoptions. You know, nationally, there's been a massive upsurge because people are realising that family isn't just about your biological children. It's also about those heart connections as well. And that people need to remember that there's lots of children who need...
And especially right now, there are probably still millions of children that don't have a family right now, and they're probably sitting there like, I just want a mom and a dad, or a mom and a mom, or a dad and a dad that can love me for like who I am. And, you know, I really feel for those people, because I was lucky to get adopted at such a young age that I can't remember much of that pain of like being taken away. But there are kids that are getting adopted. My friend had a friend that was adopted at 16 years old. That was like a whole 16 years of her life that she had no connection with a family. She was just kind of lost. And like, I really feel for that girl, because that was probably really, really hard for her. And even now, just even once you're either in like foster care or adopted, you still feel like you're not really fully, it's like there's still a bit missing from you, even though you feel loved and everything. There's always going to be that thing.
You know what, that feeling, you process it through, I think, as you grow up, and that's why adoption is a lifelong process. And I know there is some government help up until the age of 21, but just because you wake up one morning and you're 21 doesn't mean that the whole thing has now just been resolved. I know it's a lifelong, it's solvable, but it's like a very difficult mathematical equation. You've got to work through all the numerology. And you can come to a great place of acceptance. And I mean, I can hear already you're a very strong person. So there's great strengths you get in being unique and formed.
Yeah. There are some things that make me look really strong when I go through this and all the stuff. Loads of my friends don't see the side of me that is hurting genuinely. Like when all this COVID stuff happened, it brought my mind to my parents. I was just like, if they don't know where my mum is, she could like have COVID. She could be like struggling really badly. Like my dad could be struggling. And that just brought it all on. And then my brother stopped talking to me at the start of the first lockdown and has only just got back in contact with me. So all through that as well, I was just like, what is going on? Like, why is everyone just leaving me now? And at school, even teachers were noticing there was like a change in the way I was behaving and the way that I was speaking to people. But no one ever saw that genuinely I was hurting inside. They just all thought I was having like off days sometimes. But then finally, when I had a really, really bad day, the teachers were all like, Estelle, you're not doing anything in class anymore. You're not participating as much. You're not being yourself anymore. And I had like 3 detentions in that week because I just couldn't do the homework. I just couldn't sit down and do it. The teacher, I just finally told the teacher and she was really sympathetic about it. She sent me back to my next class. I broke down straight away when I went back into the classroom. And I had to spend like 3 lessons down in the office because I couldn't sit there, because then I would have to tell everyone what was wrong because they would ask you until you tell. And genuinely, like, that was a really, really like hard time for me that no one saw through like the face that I put on, because I'm a really good actor, to be honest. Like, I go to loads of acting things now. Like, I'm in an acting group. And I'm doing like drama for my GCSEs as well. So I'm a really good actor, which is probably why they couldn't see like through that I was really in pain. But my friends now, my friends that know at least, they now see the signs now that like I've told them, and they say, I wish I could have done something then. And even though they have absolutely no idea that it was all caused because of my adoption, they still like feel bad about it. But most of the time, most of the thoughts played around in my head are caused because of my adoption. So,
well, this is the thing, you know, just as I sort of wrap up, you know, the this amazing time that we've had together is that's one thing that I love about Lisa Cherry, who was always fostered, is she's a brilliant campaigner. She's gone on to get MAs and degrees, and she's just really lobbying all the time government and education. And one of the things that I remember, I was at a talk and she said was that she wants to eradicate this naughty corner, you know, for children who've been adopted, fostered, or in care, because teachers have no idea what that child is going on with them.
Anything about it in school either. I don't think I've had a single teacher mention anything about adoption. And I'm just like, people need to know about this. Like, although people know I'm adopted, people don't know what it can do to you and like how it can make you feel, because it's not taught in schools. Like, schools don't talk about it, and it's not spoken about as widely as like Black Lives Matter or like Pride or something like that. They don't talk about it as much.
Which is why, I'm so excited about, the work that Adoption Arena is trying to get your voices out heard, because I mean, what you've said is a massive debate for another day, because I remember back in, I think it was 2015 or maybe 2017, that's one thing that David Cameron really wanted to try to bring in, was have adoption friendly schools where where the teachers would be trained. Every single school would have a teacher or tutor who was trained in spotting the signs. So when children who've got a history of, who are, that's adoption or fostering as part of their story, they're not just in playing up. There's reasons why children are having massive breakdowns. You're moving all the time. You're not settled. You're dealing with Herculean issues. Trying to learn at school is impossible because you're broken and fractured. And still, the education system is like you were told off. You were actually, victimized and actually bullied almost by the school for not delivering.
It was in my first school, because I've changed schools now. My first school, it really was not, it was like a public school, and, we got a lot of people from different backgrounds there. And I get that lots of them must have been like really hurting to be able to say something like that to someone. And the teachers didn't realize, they still expected me to get really high marks in all my tests. And they still expected me to be like absolutely fine. But because of what people were saying to me, because of what was happening, I had at least 3 detentions a week and 1 isolation a week because of I would like play up, and because of the way I was feeling. Like, I played up a lot in PE lessons, saying that I didn't want to do it, and then refusing to bring in my like normal school clothes, and then they just put me straight in isolation. They wouldn't talk to me about it, and I would sometimes like storm out of class. And I would just get a straight detention. Like, no one would talk to me about it except from one teacher. And she wasn't even like the Senko or anything. She would just normally come around the school and look for me when I've gone out of lessons. So, and she used to get me out of my detentions because they're not going to help me. They're not going to make me realize, oh, what I've done is bad. Because it's not going to make you realize that. You're just going to get angrier at them because they've put you in detention.
And you're already in a place of pain. There's no logic in that whatsoever about punishing.
There's no logic about...
how does that even work? It's just cruelty beyond knowledge and really massive ignorance. So I think, for you to come through all that and to be where you are now, where you can look forward and be aware that unfortunately the system is cracked, but we know that there's still lots of great things happening, even just getting our voices out. And I just pray to God that people listening to this who can make a difference, or maybe even more young people or adults can actually think about the importance of getting a voice out, even in some way into society through social media or starting podcasts or blogs, is going to help people who are struggling. And it's going to
I came on here like a little bit nervous about what was going to happen today, and I just really want everyone who has seen this, who might be going through a similar thing, or even if their parents have like divorced and they're going like one way or another, it still feels the same because you still feel like half of you's been taken away. I just want them to realize that they're absolutely fine. They've done nothing wrong in whatever has happened, and that they just need to focus on school and just having a good time with family. And although your grades are important, don't base everything on school. Just make sure you have that in the back of your mind, but make sure that you have supportive friends, a supportive family, and you can always talk to anyone. If anything's happening between me and my friends, or they're upset about something, that I'm always open to talk to. And if you have someone in your life like that, talk to them about it. Don't keep it all bottled up, and just be confident in yourself and what you do, because it'll always help with whatever you do. So.
Wow. Well, I feel... Yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to jump in, and I know you want to wrap up, Joy, but I just wanted to say that I think that's one of the things we really valued about Estelle in the group, that she was able to be so open, and that she could talk about that, how difficult it had been to be herself and be confident. But it was lovely to see you grow, Estelle, in your confidence, but also how you wrote about identity in your writing.
I wrote about identity a lot because I was judged for my identity in my first school, because I came out to a few people, And I got judged pretty hard, and they would say mean things about me behind my back, and that hurt even more because I was always going to find out. So it was really just after that happened, I wasn't ready to tell anyone else or accept who I am or anything like that. So identity has played a big part in it all, and just I say be yourself a lot to everyone, because being myself has like helped me get to the place where I am now. Because if I hadn't have been brave enough to just step outside my comfort zone and just said, you know what, this is me, this is like who I am, I cannot change this, then I wouldn't be as confident as I am right now, and I would not be able to like sit here and talk as openly as I have like today.
Well, I just really can't say enough adoration for all of you. I mean, oh my Lord, we are taking over the world, people. You know, I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for making this time. You know, I mean, so how can people get their hands on this amazing piece of literature? I mean, you know, if people are listening and they want to get involved, how can they do that?
Me?
We have got, sorry, do you want to speak? Sorry, Charlotte.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically we have got a website, which is aspirecreativity.com. You can go on the website, you can email us at aspirecreativity@googlemail.com. Myself and Charlotte are on Instagram, and I'm sure people might contact us there. We had sent out a few messages, so that's either Aspire Creativity or Janett with 2 T's Plummer. Or Charlotte, any more handles? But you can contact us.
Yeah, well, we're sort of both on Twitter as well. But so you can contact via the Aspire email to get a copy of the book. But it's not launching until the 13th of March. And on the 13th of March, we have got an online launch in the evening, 7:30 in the evening. So I guess if people want to look out for adverts for that, it will be a live stream audience that anyone can join and listen in and hear other young people, not just Estelle, but the other brilliant writers that joined in reading from their work.
Well, brilliant. Well, thank you so much again. All this information will be in all the notes. So if you didn't catch that, that's absolutely fine. Do make sure you follow them, you tweet it, you tell other people, because all the golden nuggets of real conversation we've had in the last, nearly hour has just been life-changing, and is going to really make a difference, help people engage with the importance of the adoptee voice, the people with lived experience, people who are being fostered, people who are still in care, people who, even adults who still feel shut down and trapped, but they still have a child broken within. We want to help you. We want to reach out to you. We want to inspire you to maybe do another anthology as well, maybe with adults, or to really go there and to keep getting those voices out creatively. It doesn't have to be a great big, difficult read, but a read that is going to really be real and help society engage with these very complex issues. So thank you for listening. Thank you again, Charlotte, Janett, Estelle. Oh my gosh, women of power and great beauty as well. You know, you're just such beautiful people inside, and I just wish I could hug you all now. We all need a sort of a special treat or something. But, when all this stuff is over, COVID is over, I'm really looking forward to actually meeting you all in person and just carrying on that conversation. So again, thank you so much for listening as well, all of you at home or on the podcast, to Adoption Arena podcast. As I said, you matter so much to us, or your support, and this is the great journey forward, and it's only episode 2. Hey, where do we go after this? Thank you for your time. I'm Joy Carter, and love you so much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joy. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to our podcast or our YouTube channel. Special thanks to our guests, Charlotte Ansell and Janett Plummer. And a special thanks to Estelle for speaking so openly and bravely about her adoption experience. If you'd like to order a copy of the anthology out in March, then please just read the notes below. Adoption Arena podcast is brought to you in conjunction with adoptionarena.com. It's aimed at those interested in or affected by adoption, fostering and care issues. Join us as we discuss the big issues and topics in the arena that might affect you. We would love for you to support our work at Patreon. Go to Adoption Arena and receive exclusive interviews, listen to seminars and training, and be invited to our live Zoom meetings and events. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Joy Carter, and I look forward to hearing from you with any feedback, suggestions and questions. Adoption Arena, a sound pathway to a great future.